Fernando Tatis is on the IL, and the Cubs bullpen is a mess. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Tuesday, June 25th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, and the biggest news of the day, Fernando Tatis placed on the IL with a stress reaction in his upper right leg. That's retroactive to June 22nd. Apparently, he could still play through the injury, but it won't get better without rest, so they opted to put him on the IL, and this injury is kind of ambiguous, Chris, because over the weekend, we thought it was just a triceps injury, and now it turns out okay, he's got something more going on. He could miss the minimum 10 days. He could be out for the next month. It's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some other situations where players have had stress reactions, and like Miguel Sano in 2017 missed 40 days with a shin stress reaction, and Dominic Smith in 2019 missed 61 days. Fernando Tatis in 2019 missed 20 days with a stress reaction in his lower back. So a different situation there. But yeah, it seems like one of those injuries that is very much, like you said, up in the air. Not something that we can really say there's a concrete timetable. I would assume longer, not shorter in this situation, but I'm not sure there's anything you can do about that either. You're not dropping Fernando Tatis. You're just stashing him on your bench or in an IL spot no matter what, and hoping that it ends up being a relatively minor issue. But it is something that, you know, he's played through a quad injury for a few weeks. I guess that's what this was. Ultimately, that's what we're learning here.
And surprisingly enough, he actually has been performing pretty well over the past couple of weeks. So maybe it won't affect the production too much, and let's hope Fernando Tatis is back in a short amount of time. The Cubs bullpen is a mess. As I mentioned up top, they had a 2-run lead entering the bottom of the 9th inning. It was Colton Brewer who started the 9th, and then he gave up 1 run on 2 hits. He recorded 1 out. He was relieved by Drew Smyly, who gave up a hit, a walk, a sac fly, tie game. He wound up walking in the game-winning run. Hector Neris last pitched on Friday, so he should have been available, but he's been really shaky as of late. Chris, what do you think the Cubs bullpen goes from here?
Yeah, I mean, this is one where, you know, like when Edwin Diaz got suspended, I think we can look at the Mets and say, you know, Reed Garrett is probably going to step in. Hector Neris started struggling last week, and I started doing some research for the newsletter, and it was like, oh, there's nobody who's pitching well in the Cubs bullpen right now. There are a couple of guys who have a low ERA. I think Drew Smyly actually had a decent ERA coming into this one, or there are guys with, you know, decent strikeout to walk ratios that make you think maybe that, but nobody's actually pitching well there. And so my guess, you know, when they talked to Craig Counsell last week, he was pretty reluctant to take Hector Neris out of the closer's role. Obviously, we've seen them go away from him a couple times since then, but my guess is that they're going to give Hector Neris another try, just because we've seen a couple other players fumble in the opportunities that they've been given. So I don't have a ton of faith in Hector Neris, but he does have a good track record before this season that should give him another opportunity at least.
Let's wrap up with a quick word on Oneil Cruz, who hit his 11th home run on Monday. Huge homer, 112.3 exit velocity, 458 feet. But overall, I think it's been an underwhelming season for Oneil Cruz. He's batting .243. He's got 11 homers, 6 steals, a .729 OPS. He had a big spring training. The ADP kept rising, you know, top 50, top 60 pick. Chris, where are you at right now on Oneil Cruz?
Overall, I think I'm okay with Oneil Cruz and the season that he's having. Coming off that significant injury, all the time that he missed, he was dreadful in April. It was like a 40% strikeout rate. Since then, it's been a much more manageable strikeout rate. It's not good, but it's more like high 20s, low 30s, 30%, something like that. So I think if he can do that, you're probably looking at a guy who hits 250 with 30 homers and double-digit steals, whether it's, I think we'd rather it be 20 plus. Maybe it's more like 10 plus right now, but maybe I could certainly see him starting to run more as the season goes on. And that's still a really valuable player. It's not the leap we were hoping for from Oneil Cruz. And maybe he never gets there. But I do think there remains a 40 homer ceiling given his elite quality of contact. And it's just mostly a question of, can he get the strikeout rate down to 29%, 28%? And can he run more? I think those are the things that will take Oneil Cruz from good fantasy option to a superstar. I think that's still the upside. Unfortunately, it's not the leap he's made yet.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.